For the branded media marketing. My name is Mike Ripken. As you guys can probably see from my name card that I'm a replacement. So I'll do my best. I know it's not as fancy as everybody else's. I'm with the Futures Group at Millward Brown, which is a new initiative to understand emerging platforms like advergaming, podcasting, blogging, all sorts of fun stuff. Generally, when you think research, you don't think it's too sexy, but with advergaming and podcasting, well, it's finally paid off for me to be a math and tech geek. What we're going to talk about today is things like fragmented market, what's going on. I saw a study over the weekend that said consumers are spending roughly the same amount of time with media consumption. However, they're cheating on traditional media like television and print with other technological media, like gaming, blogging, online video, podcasting, and cellular. For those of you who flew here today or for this conference, may have noticed someone on the plane watching Lost, or a podcast on their iPod, or playing a game on their PSP or watching some downloaded content. These types of new technologies are what are on the minds of our panelists. I'm going to first introduce Chris Petrovic, who is the vice president. He has every guy's dream job. He's the vice president of business development at Playboy Entertainment Group. Chris is a new media veteran, having started his career on the internet marketplace in the late 90s. He's held executive management positions in a variety of corporate settings, from startups to publicly traded companies to venture capital firms. Chris currently serves as Vice President of Business Development, Digital Media for Playboy Entertainment Group. In his role, he is responsible for business development initiatives for all divisions of the entertainment group, including Playboy Mobile, Playboy Online, and Playboy TV. Before joining Playboy, Chris served as Vice President of Business Development for AG Interactive, new media division of American Greetings. So
a little different market.
Little bit different. Not as fun. So Chris, if you want to go ahead and tell everybody about yourself and what you do.
Sure. So Playboy Entertainment Group is, as it says, the entertainment division of Playboy Enterprises, the parent company, and we focus mostly on digital media initiatives, whether it's I guess one of the buzz terms, kind of the three screens. So we look at the in-home experience, we look at the PC experience, and we look at the mobile phone portable device experience, and we think about and execute on initiatives relating to how best to deploy our content to those three screens for our consumers to meet their changing consumption needs. And I think we are in a bit of a fortunate position in the sense that Playboy as a brand straddles the fence between mainstream media and then the lifestyle entertainment for adults media, and that lifestyle entertainment for adults side of the fence has traditionally driven a lot of the marketplace when it's come to broadband adoption, when it's come to business models on the internet, and now on the mobile phone and portable devices as well. So for us, at the end of the day, it's all about giving our consumers the content that they want, when they want it, and where they want it, and that's kind of the laser focus of our company on a daily basis.
Thanks. Next up is Stephen Smith, Vice President for Reuters. Stephen leads Reuters' consumer-facing mobile, video, and signage media business globally. He's responsible for maximizing revenues and brand value from the company's presence on these platforms and overseeing relationship with key technology providers and distribution affiliates across the globe. In addition, he heads Reuters Labs, a public showcase of the latest consumer product innovations from Reuters. Before joining Reuters, he was the Director of Business Development at Bertelsmann, a media group. And go ahead, Stephen, tell us a little bit what you're doing at Reuters.
Thank you. So as you pointed out, look after 4 areas: mobile, video, our signage business. We have some of the most advanced signs in the world. Our flagship sign in Times Square is actually capable of mobile interaction, can be controlled by a phone over IVR technology. And labs.reuters.com, which is very similar to Google Labs, different projects, but a similar concept. I encourage you to check it out. And so Reuters is basically one of the largest collectors and distributors of content in the world. About 1 billion people, plus or minus 100 million, consume our content every day through a variety of channels, variety of countries, and a variety of media, so text, pictures, video, market data, graphics, you name it, across the news and financial information space in about 18 languages, 130 countries, on and on. So we are developing a consumer media business on top of our wholesaling activities. We've been doing this in earnest for about 2 years now, and our strategy is targeting an audience segment called the influentials in a variety of countries. And we are focused principally on interactive platforms in developed countries, and a little bit more broadly to more traditional electronic media in emerging markets such as India, where we just launched a new television channel with the Times Group of India in January. But in the developed markets, the G8, large developed markets, we're focused purely on interactive platforms. Our shorthand for those platforms is, we denote those by user experience or distance from screen, actually. So 1 foot for mobile, 3 foot for the PC, 10 foot for interactive television, and 100 foot for our signage business. And the reason we do that is to emphasize user experience first, not business model, not technology, not CDMA, 3GSM, et cetera, on and on. It's much more about the user experience, and all those other good things will follow. Variety of models, paid and ad-supported. We see most of our revenue on the ad side in our consumer media business, so principally driven by Reuters.com and a variety of other commercial sites worldwide. So great to be here.
Great, thanks, Steve. Up next is Jason Brown, who's the Executive Vice President for National Advertising Sales for ScreenVision. 13-year veteran of media sales, Jason Brown heads the U.S. national and regional sales team for ScreenVision. Based in the New York office, Jason develops sales strategies and manages 5 sales teams in the firm's New York, Los Angeles, Detroit, and Chicago offices. He's responsible for revenue generated via national cinema spots, slides, promotional extensions, and in-theater integrated marketing programs. Since March 2005, when ScreenVision launched its digital platform, Jason has been an integral part of the internal task force to develop strategy and rollout.
Thank you, Mike. I think it's to give you guys a little perspective on the cinema industry. I think it would make some sense this morning to set up some of the benefits that we're seeing in terms of the advances in technology. A few years ago, there were 5 of us doing this. There's just 2 now. It's ScreenVision with 54% of all the Nielsen emissions in the U.S., and NCM with 46%. Of the 31,000 mainstream screens in the U.S., 27,500 of them now accept advertising. So distribution's been pretty significant over the last 5 years. There's only a little bit left. There are 2 players. We are fully rated by Nielsen. All the metrics is there now. But the biggest development for us is digital. So we are basically taking out these analog pre-show that we all grew up with, which is that slideshow with the carousel and the trivia and the slides. And we're replacing that with a high-definition digital delivery system that allows us to program a 20-minute program prior to start time. And at ScreenVision, we've got content providers, we've got long-form advertisers, we're able to redeploy video assets. We're testing a lot of new things with alternative content, gaming. It's a really exciting time for cinema right now, and it's one of the fastest growing ad categories because of the advances in technology. And pretty much the benefits that we see, we benefit from some of the lessening impact of traditional media. We don't have to worry about the DVRs and the other skipping devices out there.
Thanks, Jason. Up next is JD. JD is the Executive Vice President for Network Live. JD started at Hollywood Talent Agency, Creative Artists Agency in new media, and then went to IXL, where he headed their media and entertainment practice. This led him into the cutting edge of distributing digital content to devices and listening of digital programming. JD was an advisor to Judy McGrath at MTV on Next Generation Digital Strategy. Also advisor on the Sam of HP before returning to one of his first loves in music to work on Live 8 before joining Live Network. While at IXL, JD met the people who created the first MP3 player, Rio, which in turn helped JD become one of the founders for Rio Port, which was the first digital music distribution service venture with MTV Networks.
Thanks. Network Live is a joint venture of America Online, XM Satellite, and Anschutz Entertainment Group. We were formed after our team produced the Live 8 concerts in July of last year, which, while we don't claim to have invented online video, we certainly think helped activate a massive consumer awareness that what was considered non-traditional ways of distributing programming are now traditional ways for many of the consumers. What we do is we produce original programming that's distributed to a number of partners across what we call a horizontal network in a number of different categories across that network. So we distribute our programming to the broadband category, and that's to AOL, to radio, which is to XM, to television. We distribute programming in high def and standard def to DirecTV. We distribute to wireless devices, and we'll be making some wireless announcements next week at CTIA. Into theaters through our partner National CineMedia. And then we distribute to other devices and closed circuit, as well as to retail. We've distributed a number of our programs to Walmart. We primarily are focused on the distribution today of music programming through two main franchises. One we call Main Stage, which is about multi-platinum artists like Madonna, like the Rolling Stones, like Green Day. The other we call SRO, Standing Room Only, which is about breakthrough artists that we distribute in the same manner.
Great, thanks. Up next is Maria Thomas, who is the Executive Vice President for NPR Online. As Vice President for NPR Online, Maria Thomas leads the team of writers, programmers, content developers, and designers who make possible NPR's website, npr.org. She's an avid NPR radio listener who confesses to having an internet addiction. So I think all of us here do. Maria joined NPR in October 2001 after more than 2.5 years with Amazon.com. And before that, she spent several years in the finance sector.
Thanks. Good morning. I always like to start out with what is NPR, so I don't make the assumption that people know what NPR is. NPR is, first of all, a nonprofit institution, so I sort of stand out from the rest of the group up here. Historically organized to produce and distribute radio programming. NPR is not a radio station. NPR is also a trade association of sorts, so stations around the country belong to NPR as members. So if you listen to your local NPR member station, you'll often hear support for NPR is provided by NPR stations. That's by virtue of the fact that those stations purchase from NPR programming. So that is the historical sort of situation of NPR. There are 26 million listeners to NPR radio programming across the United States each week. That's an Arbitron number. And it's important to point out that because of that structure, NPR historically has basically been in the B2B business, creating and distributing programming to radio stations across the country. My job is actually, you promoted me, but thank you. I'm the Vice President for NPR Digital Media, which includes online and on-demand, online and on-demand platforms. That includes all things on the web, mobile, and podcasting. So the reason I spent time talking about what NPR is to sort of illustrate what the opportunity and challenges are for NPR digital media. The opportunities are actually quite extraordinary if you think about what radio is and then what the online and on-demand platforms are. They're almost perfectly complementary. Radio is ephemeral, it's here and then it's gone. Online is archival. Radio is geographically bound. The internet, of course, is not. Radio is also linear. You must listen to the programs in the fashion in which they're presented to you. And the platforms that I represent are, of course, non-linear. So, and then, of course, there's the audible and visual factor. So that's also a major difference, which represents an opportunity and challenge. So for all those reasons, we think that NPR has an extraordinary opportunity in the online and on-demand platforms, and it's my job to figure out what those are in the context of a membership organization that has strong roots in the nonprofit, non-commercial sector.
Thanks, Maria. Up next is Neil McGinnis. Neil McGinnis is the Vice President for National Lampoon. He develops entertainment-based strategy marketing programs through National Lampoon's properties in film, television, radio, publishing online, and on campus through its in-dorm cable television network. Before joining National Lampoon, Neil spent 10 years working for Lorne Michaels Company, Broadway Video Entertainment, eventually becoming Vice President for Marketing and Business Development.
Thanks, Mike. Lampoon turned 36 this year in 2006, and hopefully you all know about us. We're a diversified entertainment company. We're active in film, television, print, radio, online. Increasingly now broadband and mobile entertainment as well. I'm sure you know our films between Animal House and Vacation and Van Wilder. Those films have grossed over $1 billion here domestically. In the television sector, as Mike mentioned, we own and operate the largest indoor college cable television network. So we're out there distributing original programming to over 500 colleges on a weekly basis. On the print side, we have a trade publishing agreement with St. Martin's, and we distribute trade books to Barnes & Noble and Borders, and we have about 6 titles coming out this calendar year. On radio, we have a syndicated radio partner that takes our comedy radio content out to XM and other terrestrial radio stations around the country. And in online, which is really more my area as well as mobile, we recently launched Toga TV, which is our broadband destination for entertainment. And I'm happy to say that the Wall Street Journal picked up on that and put us on the front page of the Journal recently. And that, of course, led to a great deal of traffic, and we're now seeing over 150,000 viewers a day who are actually watching some of our National Lampoon content on Toga TV. And on the mobile front,
At the story level as opposed to the program level, we can create all sorts of what I call derivative products. And these are formed from existing products, but really different in nature. So for example, we can take all the stories that relate to books or book reviews and create a category for books, create a stream for books, create a podcast for books, et cetera. We can chop these up in different ways, slice and dice, and create new products from existing programming. Allow our listeners, our users, our audience to experience the radio programming in ways that they want, not tied to the program format or not.
Online, which the presenter, Chad Rubel, one of our editors, actually now has a space on MySpace where he promotes his show and his thoughts on the show and what he's going to do next week and all that kind of thing. And in addition to that, at blogs.reuters.com, about 20 of our journalists have now started keeping blogs. And it's been an interesting internal challenge, but they are now getting to a point where they feel comfortable linking out to other bloggers. Again, sort of traditional media meeting a newer kind of media. So it's interesting how that there's some cultural issues at a large company like ours, like many companies, but we're overcoming those, and the dividends are starting to be paid, not just in terms of just straight link backs and sort of the hard numbers and so forth, but just in terms of general openness towards other partners.
Okay. One last question is sort of out of all the platforms that are going on, or some things that you think may be happening over the next 3 years, what do you see being the biggest opportunity? Where would you concentrate your efforts if you had to with limited budget? Let's say you don't have the ability to go after everything. Where would you look first?
For me, I think that wireless is the most interesting because of the mass reach and because of the geo-targeting capabilities.
Everybody agrees with the mobile?
Mobile's,
Wireless.
I definitely agree with mobile because the mobile device is inherently, when we're talking about the phone, it's inherently an audio device, and for us, that is a huge opportunity.
I think mobile, and in particular mobile gaming, is one that we spent a lot of resources on. We had a property, if you've seen the Revenge of the Nerds, where they have the Greek Week sequence, where they have the tug of war and the obstacle course and all those Greek events, and we came up with National Lampoon's Greek Games as a series of multiplayer games so that you could challenge somebody into how far they could throw a keg on their phone. And do things like the Lube Luge and other, Olympic, quasi-Olympic competition events. And
You're stealing all my terms.
I got Lubin again too. So that's
He was listening to the dialogue.
Yeah, exactly.
but believe it or not, the carriers have fallen in love with this sequence of games. It hits their demographic sweet spot, right? In terms of 18 to 34 and 18 to 24, and so we've actually been remodeling our projections based on more downloads than we had anticipated. And you're talking about on a downloadable game these days at $4.99. In the international market, it's €4, which is which is even more than $5. So you're talking about a huge market revenue-wise there.
I think to piggyback onto that, the obvious consensus here being that mobile is a great platform. I think for our business, I think as important is still the online platform because of the discoverability, because of the depth and breadth of search, that you'll never quite mirror the experience on a portable or mobile device. And just because of the nature of the way that our consumers search for content, it's very granular. Whether it's by a name or by an action or by a theme or whatever that may be. And see, I didn't even say one of those catchy words. I'm still getting people.
You don't even have to.
So for us, it's the online platform is as important, and also just the user experience for some people is more compelling than on the mobile device. Although we do get in international markets up to £5 for a 5-minute video clip. So when you think about the margins there compared to here, it's pretty mind-boggling what people will pay for. But again, just going back to the infrastructure of the net and the robustness of search and just the discoverability for us, the net provides just as compelling of an avenue for us.
JD?
I would say that we're certainly excited about the opportunities in the mobile space, and I think that you'll see a tremendous amount of heat there next week with CTIA and with the announcements that'll come around that. And just because the players are becoming, extremely aggressive in that space, you see a lot of programming and a lot of money flowing into that space right now. I still think that the online or broadband space is really in its infancy in terms of broadband video adoption has really taken off in the last 6 months. We think that Live 8 helped activate consumer interest in that, but you saw the same thing with the Olympics. You saw it you're seeing it right now with March Madness, and you'll see it again. You see it with, and you'll see it with the experience improving. You see people like Intel. We're making an effort to create a premium experience in broadband video. You'll see it with, I don't think there's been a true success story coming out of Google Video, but there will be. AOL launched a really aggressive television initiative in the last week, where for free you can see a tremendous breadth of old television shows that are ad-supported. And I think that that's really interesting now. As the user experience improves, as consumers start to adopt that, as they're able to shift that to portable devices, I think that you'll see a lot of success stories there. So I would say we're excited about the mobile space, but I think that the tremendous growth in the broadband space is just about to happen.
Yeah, and if you follow the money, that's certainly true. I mean, online video advertising is obviously taking some money away from traditional television. Mobile paid in certain categories is doing very well, but it's been quite disappointing in other categories, I think it's safe to say. Also remember, the mobile platform still sees about 90+% of its revenues from voice, something that attendees at many shows forget. The mobile platform is not about content at this point. It's about voice still.
I think the figures, it's 95% voice, and of the 5% that's data, the lion's share of that is still SMS-based.
Peer-to-peer.
So messaging. So rich media content, MMS content is a small sliver of a small pie still. Especially when the carriers are pushing family plans and getting people to buy handsets and adding lines. They're still all about the 95% of what their revenues are.
Follow the money. All right.
Great. Well, thanks, guys. I think that's actually all the time that we have. Please, everybody, give a round of applause to our panelists for taking the time to come out. And thank you all for coming.